Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of the Mission Matters Innovation Podcast, your source for all things innovation. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres. Keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good stuff. Always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, missionmatters.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, so today I have Shanta Bodhan on the line, and she's Customer Success Manager over at SupplyShift. Shanta, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Adam. It's a pleasure.
All right, so excited to learn more about SupplyShift and what you're doing over there. But before we get into the company, let's go a little bit further into your background. So how did you get started in your career and in business?
Sure. So when I got out of college, I was positive that I was going to have my life's work in human resources, which is a little bit different than your typical entry into customer success. So my first career was in human resources, and it's kind of a broad range of skills. Nowadays it's really referred to as people operations, which I think is a much better application. Initially when I was first starting in people operations, my focus was on attracting, retaining, and growing superstar teams and people into companies. And so when I made the shift from people operations into customer success, it wasn't really too much of a shift from a mindset of turning that internal focus to an external focus and attracting, retaining, and growing our customers.
What are some of the, and I don't want to oversimplify this, only so much you can get in a short podcast episode, right? But in that experience, what were some of the things that you learned that led to really creating those high-performing or, cohesive teams?
Yeah, so I really think a focus on listening and putting yourself in the other person's shoes and trying to align different skills that you bring to human resources and you bring to a company is really a great skill set for transferring those different types of skills to customer success. So being able to drive the best value for the customer really hinges on understanding your customer inside and out and understanding where you can add value and lend suggestions and best practices to their experience in order to maximize what they have bought for their company. So I think that, really understanding how a team is comprised, what are the different skills that they bring to the table, and how they can leverage that are really great ways that you can transfer some of those skills to customer success as well.
That's awesome. Let's switch it up a bit. I do want to spend some time talking about SupplyShift. So tell us a little bit more about the company, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are a SaaS company that provides supply chain visibility software. So we do that in a couple of different ways. The first way is really through sustainability. We see nowadays that consumers are different and they really care about how their products are made and sourced. We help to identify where those products are made and sourced through our software. And it's a really great mission, and this is really why I love working at SupplyShift, because we believe that when properly managed, strong and resilient supply chains can really change the world for the better, and they also help your business. And there's a lot of data out there that support that.
Yeah, and I mean, to me, the way some of this came about, at least what brought it to my radar is, we don't have to get into it, but some of the things that we heard in the past when a large corporation has, something that they find out that maybe a component along the supply chain was made by labor that was too young or just not the right conditions or whatever. We don't have to get into all that, but there's, things that the end consumer would not want for whether it's humanitarian reasons, whether it's environmental reasons, whether it's a combination of all these things. But now the responsibility is really the onus or the responsibility, and maybe it always was, but now it's forced by consumer preference, is on these large companies. Like they have to make sure that they have all their supply chain in order, or that negative press and or things that could happen if maybe they didn't have control of it could be really damaging long term to their brands.
Yep, that's right. And that really feeds into risk mitigation, which is another avenue that we've really seen take off. Companies are really interested in identifying where those risks are, where those holes are within their supply chains so that they can start conversations with suppliers on how to make that better. And so that's really what our software does. It helps identify where your suppliers are, what they supply to different companies, and, you know, where they might need to make improvements along their supply chain in order to make that better.
No, it makes perfect sense. And the way I see this is that it started with larger companies, but like many things start at enterprise, but it's going to be, in my opinion, more and more increasingly important, even for the at some point the small business owner to really consider that. And I don't mean just the artisan or the small, I mean like even the everyday supplier, everyday, you know, small business that's maybe, you know, your local hardware store, who knows, like something like that. Like they're going to maybe be a little bit more aware of those buying decisions in the future. And I think software like yours in general is a great way for businesses to consider to kind of go down that path. I love it. I love what you're doing. It goes right in line with what we're thinking over at Mission Matters, and how we're trying to spread these stories of what makes sense and what people should be thinking about, and how they interact in business worldwide. So I love it. It's a great thing you're doing. So Shanta, that being said, there are a lot of business owners, entrepreneurs, executives listening to this. I mean, what's the type of fit for Supply Shift in terms of, because I want to make sure that I'm going to get at the end, I'm going to give you the opportunity to leave a website or however somebody should contact to learn more about Supply Shift. What's the right type of company and or a size of company, whatever your demographic is, that's normally a good fit for your software?
Yeah. So it really varies. We have a wide variety of customers, but in general, our customers are Fortune 500 companies, give or take, that make or sell products that go on, near, or in your body. So we have a wide variety of industries. We see folks from beauty and personal care, textiles and apparel, high-tech and electronics, food and beverage and retail. And I think the takeaway with that is that more and more companies across the board are interested in having sustainability and resilient supply chains, and really understanding where their products are coming from and how they affect the planet and people. And so, we have a wide variety of interests, but generally that's kind of our sweet spot is, Fortune 500 companies and, folks are around that space, so enterprise level.
Fantastic. Well, and Shanta, what's the best way for somebody to reach out to learn more about Supply Shift?
Yep, you can check us out on our website at supply-shift.net. You're also welcome to reach out to me on LinkedIn as well.
Fantastic. Well, Shanta, really appreciate you coming on the show today and sharing more about your background and all the great work that you're doing over at Supply Shift. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of this. If you did, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, leave a review in the Apple iTunes Store. And if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, Mission Matters Innovation, definitely give us a subscribe there, but also leave us some comments in the video. Love to know what kind of projects and things that you're working on. And Shanta, thanks again for coming on the show.
Thanks so much for having me.